I think British people, when they come to the US and they're looking for investment funding, you need to drop the sarcasm. Doesn't play well at all in the US. You need to drop the self-deprecating humor. Again, doesn't play well in the US. And you need to be bold. You need to set ambitious targets. You need to show that your vision is something which others can buy into. You need to be able to explain to investors why you are the right person to invest in, with the right idea at the right time. And so, I think for a lot of Brits, it's just an unnatural act to blow their own trumpets in this way. But you've got to do it, because you're going to be up against other people who are doing it naturally. And you need to sell people on your vision. And to a certain extent, you need to be able to, like I said about Microsoft, even if it isn't quite brilliant today, you need to show how you can get there, because that you need the backing now in order for that to happen. So I think, that's the way I think about it. The other thing I think, which is more technical, is that you need to have an operation in the US. 20 years ago, you would have needed to move your company to the US in order for that to work. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that, but you have to have an operation here. The US is so huge that many people have never left the country and don't know how to deal with people from abroad or companies from abroad. So their predisposition is to work with US companies. And so you need to be able to present that US front so that they can deal with you.
If you're selling to a US company, it's so much better to have an American voice, an American person doing it. However, if you're selling a technical product and you're actually consulting, or let's say you're demoing the product, or you're the subject matter expert, it's actually quite useful to have a British accent, because there's a sense of authority there. And but that's the difference. If you're selling, put on an American accent. If you're displaying or educating or showing your wares, put on a British accent. Did you find the same thing?
I do find the same things. And sometimes I'm frustrated because people say, well, you're saying it so nicely. You could be saying nonsense and we'd still be, happy to hear it. So I'm getting, yes. But yes, the British accent does have a positive feeling to it here in the US, despite all the crazy things we've been doing in our politics over the last few years. That still is the case. And so, yes, I think that that is very helpful. And it does come across exactly as you said, as kind of authoritative and confident, and dare I say, posh. So although most Americans would imagine a British accent to be somewhere a cross between Billy Idol and the Queen. And so somewhere in between is probably where we sit.
Yeah, the accent you don't want is a New York accent. Yeah, right. So Raj, you and I first met when you were heading up a startup, and you played that role and moved that forward, and you were totally enmeshed in that world. Now you are in a different world. You're on the other side of the table, so to speak. This is going to be a hard question to answer. Which is more difficult?
Not a hard question to answer, Shelley. Definitely being an entrepreneur is way harder, way harder. The way I think about it is this concept of agent and principal. So, if you are running a startup, you are a principal. You are intimately involved in trying to make something successful. It is up to you to make the really hard decisions and the trade-offs that you need to make in order for your business to grow and thrive. When you are an agent, you're involved in the success of a company, but you are not the day-to-day person. And so you can dispense advice and wisdom and walk away. And because as venture capitalists, we take a portfolio approach, we want to have a diversity of bets that we make in any particular space. And the reason we do that is that if one fails, our overall portfolio can still be successful. If you're an entrepreneur, you really don't have that option. You are betting on being successful. And if it doesn't work, you're out of a job. And so I would say that it's definitely harder to be an entrepreneur because you've got so many constraints to deal with. And it is ultimately on you. As a VC, yes, you've got to find great companies, but honestly, the perfect company for me to invest in is one where they don't need my money, they don't need my expertise, and they don't need my time. I give them, but nevertheless, I've given them their money and they go and execute wonderfully, right? That's my dream. But that reality is quite hard to find. So definitely harder to be an entrepreneur, in my opinion. I think being a VC is a privilege. It's a luxury. I think the thing I love about the VC world is the interaction with the entrepreneurs, the passion, the motivation, the vision. I think it's all, that's incredible that they want to change the world and they're trying to do it. And so, yes, it's absolutely a luxury to be a VC compared to being an entrepreneur, in my view.
So having been an entrepreneur, so you can say, I've been there, I've done it, I've experienced the pluses, the minuses, the buck stops here or the pound stops here. So has that changed how you look at opportunities that are now presented to you as a VC? Did that modify your thinking?
Yes, it did. So when I started one of my companies, the second one, I kept it as a stealth company initially. And that was I was under the mistaken belief that the idea that we had was important. And back to my example of people being sharing and open here on the West Coast, it turns out that's not really the case. Everybody has many ideas all the time. What is important is your ability to execute against the idea. So innovation is nothing if you're not able to bring the product to market. And so I think that, it's what has sort of opened my eyes, having been through that experience, is that yes, it's important that you have a great idea and that you're trying to do something interesting. But what's most important is that you have the capacity to actually execute against the idea. So great to have good ideas. But now when I think about what I want to invest in, I'm really looking at the team and I'm saying to myself, do I believe that these people have the ability to execute? And if something goes wrong, do they have the flexibility to be able to change, to pivot, to do something else and still be successful? And ultimately, that's what you're backing. You're backing the people to be able to go out and do the right thing. And so, before that experience, I would say that I didn't really understand that. I was looking for the great idea, but the great idea is worth nothing if you can't deliver on it.